On this episode of the Autumn Windbags, we look back at the Thursday night thriller that ended in heartbreak. The Las Vegas Raiders fall to the Chargers. We do the post-game show immediately following that Thursday night game, the last Thursday night game of this 2020 season. RJ, Rory, and Soto. If you like what you hear, go ahead and subscribe, like, comment on all the social media platforms and also on the podcast platforms as well. Here we go.
I got a dream of winning a Super Bowl. I got a dream of being in a Pro Bowl. I'm really not into dreams anymore, okay? I'm into nightmares.
Raiders!
Caught! Touchdown! Raiders!
You're listening to the Autumn Windbags, an audio attack from the Silver and Black. Here are your Windbags, RJ Clifford, Juan Soto, Rory Parsons. All right, welcome to the Autumn Windbags. We are sitting here on Thursday night, recording after the final Thursday night football game of the season. Good news, it was a wild game for the ages. Bad news, Rory, the Raiders fall to the Chargers 30-27 in the waning minutes of overtime, and our playoff chances went from slim to the chances of me scoring with Megan Fox.
I mean, honestly, the second car went out. We thought that was it. I mean, at least we got a game. At least we got to see a game tonight.
Well, we saw a spark from Marcus Mariota. When he came in, I thought, okay, all right, here's our the most expensive backup quarterback in football. It's over. It's done. We can't possibly win. And he played his balls off. 17 of 28 for 226 yards, passing touchdown, a rushing touchdown. He had a couple bad passes. He threw a pick that was returned 50 yards. That was big. He had another pass that really should have been an interception in overtime, but generally he played inspirational football. He had 88 yards rushing, 9.8 yards per rush. That RPO and zone option reads was working for the Raiders. I mean, this is the fresh legs that Jon Gruden has wanted on his field from his quarterback for a long time.
Yeah, the RPO stuff did work. You're right. In the third quarter, fourth quarter, you could argue that was actually our sharpest tool in the toolbox. It was working. We're picking up chunk yardage.
I just don't know where to begin with all the ways that we fell apart between, obviously, our defense. We knew going in was going to be just destroyed by the guy I think should be rookie of the year, and Justin Herbert, quarterback for the Chargers. Our defense has been historically terrible all season. And then we come on a short week with a new defensive coordinator with 4 starters not playing. I was hoping, Rory, that we'd have, because there's a new defensive coordinator, maybe the players would play a little more inspired. Maybe they would have a little inspiration. They would just be, an extra stick of dynamite up their ass. And we got a 3 and out in the first half, which blew my mind. Wow, this is crazy. It's once Marcus Mariota in, we got a 3 and out. Receivers were catching balls. Mariota was throwing dimes. That spark was there, and it lasted, but it's just, again, the game was on the shoulder of our defense at the end of regulation, at the end of overtime, and that's just not a unit that's going to win ever when it's on them.
What's funny? We actually saw a little bit of improvement this week from the defense. I know that sounds crazy to say, but at least we stopped the run.
There's only one way to go but up, Rory. There's no way we can get worse.
Seriously, it felt like a little bit of progress, believe it or not, even though it was still down here in the cow shit. It felt like at least we did something, man. We stopped the run. We made a team one-dimensional. And, if you put it on a rookie to beat you, I feel like we're such a bad zone coverage team.
Yeah.
I really do. I really struggle with the notion of leaving someone wide open and allowing someone to pick you apart, as opposed to playing tough, physical press man coverage. That's not to say Trayvon Mullen didn't have a terrible night in man coverage. It's like his technique went to shit over the last couple of weeks, and all of a sudden it's all grab.
I lost count how many pass interference penalties he got.
And he's lucky not to have had more.
Yeah.
He's lucky to have not had more. There's no one pulling to one side in practices saying, you are being way too physical. You're being way too grabby.
Mm-hmm.
He's given up big play after big play, which sucks because he was having a great year.
It's obviously not an excuse, but it's a big part, I think, of the storyline of the game was the referees were just all over us. I mean, Hunter Renfrow got decapitated on that punt return, And then Nick Witkowski gets a little love tap on Justin Herbert. Like there was no helmet-to-helmet penalty when Renfro got just eviscerated, and yet Witkowski with a love tap. They get 15 yards there. It's like if that hit that they had on punt coverage on Renfro, if that was a Raider hitting a Charger, like that Raider would not be only like penalized, flagged. He would be executed on sight. But the Chargers can go ahead and do it to the Raiders and no big deal.
Yeah, it was a bad night. Bad night for officiating in the NFL again. You know, it's the same old narrative with Raiders and getting bad calls. I feel like, you know, all fans must say this, but the data is out there. We get so many of the subjective calls, not the pre-snap stuff that is objective. You can see it on a slow-mo replay. We get a lot of the subjective calls that go against us, and they seem to come whenever the momentum is coming against us as well.
Yeah.
Pretty consistently. It sucks. I mean, there was definitely a lot of inconsistencies in the calls. The one that you did mention that pissed me off was Aguilar. The clear pass interference. He grabbed him around the waist and pulled him back. It was blatant, and they didn't call it. It's a critical play. That's first down right there.
Darren Waller played lights out as usual. What did he have? He had 9 receptions, 150 yards, and a touchdown on 12 targets. He played great. He did miss a crucial block in one of Mariota's keepers. Like he got kind of blocked, but if it would have like blocked, it would have been Mariota for like 60 yards. Left some points on there. But then like in the last goal line stand, the last possession in overtime that the Raiders had on offense, you left Darren Waller like blocking on 3rd and 5 at the 5-yard line at the goal line. And it's just like he's playing lights out. He's uncoverable, and you have him blocking. It's been a combination of like there's been some amazing play calls out of Gruden, like the way he opened up the option game and kept like Mariota just like picked it up and went with it, which is great because the Chargers weren't preparing to defend the option at all in their short week, right? But then you got some crazy calls as well, and the concern and Gruden started playing really aggressive. I think on one drive we picked up 2 4th-down conversions, and then once we get to the goal line, they're like, "Oh, we're on the 5-yard line. Let's kick our 3," and it cost us.
I think what's disturbing, RJ, that I wasn't expecting at all this year was how little running room Josh Jacobs has had. I don't really know how to explain it because we've got Trent Brown back. We've got otherwise a healthy offensive line. Obviously, Incognito's been gone all year, but we've got Rodney Hudson healthy. We've got Gabe Jackson right guard. Trent Brown finally in healthy. Colton Miller. We've got our A-team out there. It's the most expensive O-line in the league. And it was clear as day that Josh Jacobs was not getting the sorts of running lanes that you'd expect from that type of a line, especially going against the banged-up Chargers team. That's scary going into next year, man. I don't know how they address that.
Yeah, I think teams are loading up in the box with us, which is part of it. But that's gonna be expected, And part of me wants to say like, all right, Jacobs needs to be able to break some tackles. Like, if you really are a first-round running back and you want to be an All-Pro and you want to be like a legendary, running back, you can't just be, I will run to the quality of my blocking. Like, you got to be able to elevate your blocking. But he played great once he got to the second level. Like I forgot who he completely juked. Like there's still a jock strap on that field. When do you remember who it was when Jacobs just completely juked some guy? I mean, he played great in a lot of ways.
Oh, absolutely. This is the thing about Josh Jacobs. He maximizes every carry that he gets. I feel like when you watch the replays, how often does he leave yards on the field? I think it's pretty rare. If there is a knock on him, and this is over 2 years, I'm a big Josh Jacobs fan, but if there is a knock on his game, it's that he isn't necessarily a home run hitter.
Yeah.
He doesn't necessarily have. This is the thing. When was the last time we saw him 100% healthy? I feel like one of the issues with Josh Jacobs is he's too tough for his own good. He's injured.
Yeah.
Like last year when they literally had to pull him out of the game and he was crying on the sideline. He does not want to come out. He does not talk about injuries after these games and in training. And, he's had a knee issue now for a while. He started off the year with that hip issue. He's always on the injury report, but he's never coming out the game. And I don't know how much of that is breakaway speed, just missing versus him being injured and whatever, but he's a shifty dude. He's damn good at making people miss. That's why I'm always crying out to get him more involved in the passing game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, instead of taking on linebackers, let him take on some cornerbacks for a change, right? Let him deliver some hits
Seriously.
instead of the other way around. This game, like we're gonna keep nitpicking like the details of it, but just in general, this game just felt like, what is more inept, Anthony Lynn or our defense? Like, who's gonna lose the game first? And for a while there, I thought Anthony Lynn's ineptitude was gonna be just a little worse than the Raiders' defense. But in the end, like, you give away 50-yard passes in overtime. It's just this, again, a defense that's been historically bad the last 3 seasons, extra bad the last 4 weeks. If you leave the game on their shoulders, like, even Anthony Lynn's going to look like a genius at the end.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that was on Nixon at the end. I mean, Nixon, I think, is number 6 cornerback. Is he 5 or 6 on the depth chart? When we're going that deep into our squad, it's really difficult. Honestly, I'm not. This sounds fucked up to say, man. It really does, but I'm not too disappointed with what I saw from the defense tonight. It's still bad. It's still really bad, and it's not going to win us games. But at least they did stop the run. That was important. We needed to make a team one-dimensional. Mm-hmm. I didn't see a lack of effort. I didn't see a lack of toughness or hustle. They were gang tackling. We did get a 3-and-out or 2, which was crazy. You even saw a guy, Corey Littleton, I think, made his first play of the year on a run play where he showed some sideline range and, stuck a runner in the open field. I was like, holy shit. I thought I was having PTSD seeing Darryl Worley back in there. Mm-hmm. My God, man. It's like 10 yards of separation every time a ball comes his way. Obviously, he's playing at safety, but, I mean, that's what hurts to me, dude. It's seeing a guy in literally 10 yards of zone just to himself and getting free and easy passes in there. But Herbert's a stud, man.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Justin Herbert attempted 1 pass in the 4th quarter. I mean, part of that has to do with the fact that the Raiders just kept, game of possession, the time of possession on their side during that time, just doing long drives and tying the game, et cetera. But, that's there's something to look forward to. It was so weird in regulation, like playing for that 65-yard touchdown or a 65-yard field goal. Like they got like that completion. It was, they did the quarterback sneak and they just kind of took their time. Like, no, let's not try to get, another 8-yard out, try to make it like a high 50s, like reasonable, like Daniel Carlson has been like a consistent, like maybe the most consistent player on the Raiders all season. Like he's played fantastic. But even then it's like, 65-yarder. Like,
why not take a shot?
Right. I mean, you might as well take a shot, like once you're in that position, but like, that's what they were playing for. And it just seemed weird to me that that's what they were going for.
It was disappointing to see the hurry up offense in that situation. Cool. You're going to call a sneak. You wanted to get the first down. Okay. At least follow that up with some hurry up and get the guy set and spike the ball. So you got a shot at the end zone, maybe, Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. It was a couple of questionable play calls for me. The other one that really stands out is at the end of the game, we started off with Josh Jacobs in the backfield with Mariota and Ingold back there too. And then we split, Ingold was off to the right, offset. And then we split Josh Jacobs out right to the wide receiver position. Which, I mean, that formation, you think, all right, cool, trick play. And he ran a version of Spider White Banana, I think. He literally had he went to Ingold in the flat 2 yards short.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing at that point? Why are we going conservative there? Why are we throwing Ingold behind where he needs to get to instead of taking a shot to Waller? So, I mean, we can nitpick this shit all day. I think ultimately Mariota came in and played well. I think we can all agree, he exceeded our expectations. So Gruden has to take credit for that the same way he has to also be accountable for the bullshit play calls. So,
yeah,
it's tough to be too upset.
I think we saw the best of Jon Gruden and the worst of Jon Gruden tonight. We saw him when you're starting quarterback, like who's playing Pro Bowl caliber this season. I think it's fair. Like Derek Carr was like, especially early, the first 8 games or so, he was playing Pro Bowl caliber. Yeah. He goes down in the on the second drive, and we saw in 2016 when Derek Carr goes down. That year, the offense was just non-existent. There was no offense once Derek Carr goes down. So I'm thinking, all right, we're done. And Jon Gruden opens up the playbook, all these new plays for Mariota. Mariota plays great. We see him get aggressive on that final drive on 4th down, kind of when he had no choice, more or less. Mm-hmm. But then once Gruden gets comfortable, it's back to, spider web banana and, kicking field goals and just like saying, the worst thing I could have heard from Gruden on the post-game interviews after last week was, well, you got to have faith in your defense. You got to put yourself like, no, you don't play with faith in your defense. You do not play that way. You got to get those touchdowns. You have to basically assume that their offense is going to score every single time they're out there. You don't have a choice. You don't have you can't just say that our defense is going to bail us out, because they've proven time and time again they're going to do exactly the opposite.
Yeah, it's tough. Again, it's really difficult to assign blame on this one because the context of this game, Derek Carr going out early. I was actually really disappointed in the very first drive of the game. I was texting both of you guys. To start this game with the context of this week, with everything that's happened, especially on the, all the criticism the defense has got, firing Paul Gunther. You're going to open up at home, must-win game. Let's see what you got, Derek Carr. And what do? We went 3 and out.
Yeah.
And that third down play is the epitome of what's been going on this season, where pre-snap there's almost too much going on in his head, where he has too much freedom to change the play at the line. And more often than not, we're letting the clock go all the way down. And again, a mistake crept in. Renfro and Carr weren't on the same page because he changed the play at the very last second. With 3 and out to start the game, it's just the worst possible start given the context of what's happened this week, and the last way to help out your defense.
I think Juan just joined us. How we doing, Soto?
Soto!
I'd be doing a lot better.
You've had better days?
I've had better days. Yeah, the Raiders kind of let me down, and my computer let me down, and I let you guys down, so my apologies. But I'm here, and I'm not happy. I don't know about you guys.
Oh, it's all sunshine and fucking roses over here, Soto. What was your biggest takeaway from Thursday Night Football?
Just how just bad our secondary is. They're just bad. They're just a bad secondary, and they're undisciplined. They don't know where to line up. Their technique is terrible. Even when they're in the right spot, the technique is bad. They're grabby. They fall for the simple route combinations. Their way that I saw tonight of not getting beat is just like, let everything happen in front of you. Play so far back, let everything happen in front of you, and just make it a pitch and catch session. It was sad. I don't probably talk about it already. The D line. They got more pressure. They got 1 sack. It's better than 0, I guess. But we still need to. We can't afford to just get close. We got to hit them. We got to get those sacks. We got to make those mistakes because our secondary is awful. They're terrible, and it's not just the guys that are replacing starters either. It's the starters. Mullins, goddamn. It's just grabby every play, and then he has the audacity to be like, what did I do? It's like, dude, it's plain as day. Every single play, you're grabbing or you're out of position or you don't know where to line up. Someone's wide open. It's just, it was awful. It was absolutely terrible. And I'm almost glad we got put out of our playoff misery tonight because Jesus Christ, this is what we have right now. Miami's a good football team. I was telling you guys weeks ago, Miami plays hard. They're a good football team. And the Chargers are not a good football team. They have a quarterback, but they're not a good football team. They have 4 wins coming into the season, into this game. And shit, man, I don't know what to say.
Well, as much as look, obviously the DBs are terrible. No pass rush certainly doesn't help them at all. And we've had to overcompensate against the run because we've had the last 4 weeks up until today, teams have had more rushing yards against us every single week. For over 400 rushing yards against us the last two games combined. So it's like, all right, we got to load up the box. Now we got to leave our DBs out high and dry. We were able to stop the run today, which was nice. That was a little positive there. But moving forward on fixing the defense, it's like obviously things will change whenever the new defensive coordinator comes in, and fingers crossed, hope to God, do the cross, whatever you do, pray to whatever God you need to, that's the problem, right? That Paul Gunther was the problem. I'm not convinced he's the problem. I assume he's the problem. I hope he was the problem, because our defense is loaded with like first round draft picks, expensive free agents. I mean, on paper, the personnel should work, right? Because when we start like, what do we do about our defensive backs? Like, who do we replace? Do we replace Abram? Do we replace Arnett? Like, these are first-round draft picks in their first and second years. Like, you're not just going to start overhauling the personnel. Like, it's just giving up. Like, we can't get a pass rush. Which defensive ends are we going to replace? Max Crosby? Farrell? Like, we're not just going to get rid of these guys. So it's like, it's partly a business decision. But you can't just let do you bail on Corey Littleton already? That $33 million he's getting? It's just like, it's just so easy to say that the players are bad, but like the fix is not an easy fix.
It's a great point, man.
It's tough. It's tough. They've drafted for what they needed. Mm-hmm. They drafted. I mean, I would have liked to get the defensive Josh Allen instead of Cleveland, but you know what? Whatever. We did it. And I would have. They drafted what they needed. They've been drafting DBs. They've been drafting pass rushers. It's just not getting done. And is that coaching? Are we not coaching them up properly? I think a lot of the issues in the secondary, the technique isn't there. And maybe I've been thinking about this, and we need a young Jon Gruden, but for the defense. That grind it guy, that attention to detail guy, that if you don't like what I'm saying, if you don't want to do what I'm telling you to do, then kick rocks guy.
Well, look, I think it's tough. I really do. RJ, I think you made a really good point, man. I don't think that these are easy fixes. Who do you replace exactly, right? I think, again, free safety is an easy one. That's the glaring weakness on the team. My only thing with free safety is, do we go young through the draft, or do we pair Jonathan Abram up with a complementary veteran that can keep him in, can keep his head in the game?
Yeah.
Make sure that he's lined up correctly. Give him encouragement when he's been a dumbass. Tell him to slow down a little bit and take a better angle. I feel like if we were to get like an experienced veteran free agent that also has the coverage range, almost like a Demarius Randall.
Yeah, I think a new free safety would be great. That would be worth spending some money on. So I was gonna say, well, we got a couple bucks open next season when we drop Marcus Mariota, because obviously we're not going to keep him after how this season went. And then Thursday Night Football rolls around, Carr falls out in the second drive, Mariota plays lights out. True or false? There is a quarterback controversy in Las Vegas.
I don't think so.
Not yet. It depends on.
He still throws some bad balls, man. He's still Mariota. That pick was way behind Aguilar, and he should have thrown in a second one. The DB just didn't catch it. But that's been him. He can move the ball up and down the field. He can run the ball, but I mean, he just turns the ball over too much.
I don't know. I really like what Derek Carr did this year until we got to week 10, was it? 6-3. Yeah, I mean, the 10th game is where it started to fall apart. He was lights out again, Pro Bowl for sure. There was even some murmurs about him being an MVP candidate. Reminds you of last year, right? I mean, we went to the Jets last year and it happened again. This year, same deal. We had the Falcons game just inexplicably didn't show up and it never recovered. So it's the same story as last year, which is super worrying when you look at a Gruden-based team and you look at the Gruden grinders and you look at the rapport that he's got with Greg Olsen and Derek Carr. I I feel like our play calling changes. I feel like the momentum and the attitude of the team changes. Obviously, again, one thing I hate about Gruden is he seems to always blame it on the guys that we got missing. He says, I hate excuses, and then goes ahead and lists the 10 guys that we don't have.
Yeah.
So I'm more concerned, instead of the quarterback battle, I'm more concerned about Gruden and this defensive coordinator hire.
Yeah. I guess Mariota played just well enough that that's all they're like. Now that the Raiders are basically out of the playoffs, I mean, a miracle and like 17 things can happen perfectly, and the planets are in perfect alignment, and like they're still not mathematically eliminated, but it would take an act of God. But because that's the case, and we don't know the status of Derek Carr, Jon Gruden said after the game, I don't believe if it's a real tear, but for him to not come back to the game, it got to be pretty significant. So we're still not sure about how significant that injury is for Derek Carr. But let's say he keeps playing great for the rest of the season and the Raiders are out of the playoffs. I mean, that's going to be the conversation, right? Like, it was the conversation preseason when all we knew about Mariota is that he's just played terrible in Nashville. Like, I joked, I laughed at it. I didn't think Mariota should have been picked up. I didn't see any reason why we should be committing giant resources, making Mariota the biggest, the highest paid backup quarterback in the NFL. Like, Derek Carr's not the problem with the Raiders. Raiders have a lot of problems. DC isn't one of them, right? He's like numbered like 37 on things we can, on like 42 things we can improve on this team. But after how Mariota played, and if he's super cheap next season, and we know how much Jon Gruden has a wandering eye for quarterbacks, I mean, this is going to be the Raiders conversation if Mariota plays well or plays at all the next 2 games to close out the season.
I mean, it's happened before. You let the expensive quarterback go. You keep the similarly, if not better, maybe a little bit worse, comparable backup. You keep him and you use that money to shore up other areas. And it makes sense. You draft a young quarterback and you develop them, and you just become one of those teams that hope they hit on a young quarterback, because a lot of these young quarterbacks coming in, they don't make any money, and you're able to use the money elsewhere. Right now we have, Derek Carr. The season is not 10 games long. You got to play a full season. You got to play at that level for a full season, and until you can show me that you can do that, you're not worth that money. I think we can find someone who can perform comparably to Derek Carr and use that money elsewhere. I'm not saying that we should do it. I'm saying we can.
I want to play devil's advocate. Imagine if Mariota plays well these next couple of games, and then we go into next season with the same quarterbacks. I think they fight it out in training camp. We know Derek Carr is a training camp superstar. He'd be a Hall of Fame training camp player. I feel like Carr still gives Gruden the best opportunity at wins next year. And I think if he doesn't get wins next year, his job is on the line. So I think he has to stay with Carr next year. I don't know if it's the right call. I love Derek Carr. I think he played amazing to start the year, but it's the same script as last year. He's fallen apart in the games that matters in the latter stages of the.
Has he really fallen apart? I mean, he's not playing the same way he did in the first 8 games, but has he really fallen apart? Like, is he just obviously the Falcons fell apart, completely imploded. He swallowed a nuclear bomb and exploded and got radiation all over his team, right? Like the Falcons, yes. Other games, has he really fallen apart? It's been the defense.
How well did he do in that Jets game besides that last pass against a pretty bad pass?
Adequate, defense? Like not great.
But exactly. So let me pose this to you: does Gruden have a better chance to win with Carr or with Mariota and that extra money put elsewhere to shore up the team?
I think he's better with Carr. Yeah, I think it is better with Carr. I think you live and die with Carr. I think it's hard to justify getting rid of him after the season that he's just had. But honestly, I look at individual plays in big moments with Carr. And yeah, sure, he's had a couple of really big clutch throws, especially towards the end of games. But more often than not, it's the easy throws. It's the 3rd and 3, the easy shit that should be scripted, or the rushing the decision to throw the flat that has no chance of ever succeeding.
Mm-hmm.
It's the poor situational football that he seems to just capitulate a little bit at this time of year. It's the same storyline with him, man. I'm not convinced he's ever going to win us a Super Bowl. But until we get a bit of better defense, I'm with you. It's hard to replace him before you improve the defense.
Yeah, I think we can definitely win a Super Bowl with him. I don't even think we need a good defense. I think we just need a not historically terrible defense. Like even the 19th ranked defense in the league. One turnover and 2 sacks a game. That too much to ask? And I know it's Christmas time and RG's getting crazy, asking Santa for things that he'll never get, but a couple sacks, make sure the opposing quarterback's jersey has some grass stains on it. Hey, why not? Go crazy, go crazy. All right, so we're moving on to Miami. We got a long, plenty of time to rest. Derek Carr's got 8 days to rehab that groin of his and see if we can get back to play the Dolphins on a rare Saturday. I think it's a Saturday game, right? Saturday game. We'll be back on Thursday to break down that one. But again, Raiders basically out of the playoffs. We saw an exciting game, if not the result that we wanted, 27-30, Chargers win. I don't know what the story of the Raiders season is going to be, but I do know for sure it's not boring. It has been, the season's not over, 2 more games, but it has been a wild, wild season by the Raiders. Highest highs, lowest lows, storylines up the wazoo. Now we got, whether there's a quarterback controversy or not in Las Vegas, that's what's going to be talked about all week long. I don't know. Anything before we go, Rory?
No, I got nothing. I think my only thing, Rod Marinelli, I think it was a good game one in the fact that he was able to stop the run. Next week, I want to see a little bit more on the pass coverage side of things. And then, I'll entertain the idea of keeping him.
Soto?
I'm just supremely disappointed at just the carbon copy of last year. 6-3, now 7-7. I wouldn't be surprised if we were 7-9 to end the year again. Honestly, I would not be surprised. The team mailed it in last year at the end of the year, and man, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard when your friends are texting you and just shit talking the hell out of you, and you really can't say anything back. Like, what are you gonna say? Yeah, we couldn't show it up. We shit the bed. Like, what are you gonna do? It's just tough, man. It's tough. It's not easy. But, it's never easy being a Raider fan. And, part of the masochistic part of us is the sadist is we kind of like that. We kind of like that. Like Rory said, I was talking to you guys in the game. I liked that, one gap and go defense. It suits, they were getting more pressure, even if they weren't getting the sacks. They were, pushing the offensive line back a little bit. They were getting in the running lanes early and making it, it's easier tackles for the linebackers. I'm talking about the defensive line, and we'll see what happens with the secondary. I didn't think they could play worse than they played against the Colts, and they did. They played worse against the Chargers. Can they get worse against the Dolphins? I would like to think not. It was pretty bad. Mm-hmm. But shit, man, they proved me wrong already. Yeah.
Let me ask you this real quick. Simple as this. Would you get rid of Joyner next year?
Yeah.
Easy, right?
Yeah. I don't think he's bringing anything.
Easy, right? So Trayvon Mullen on net. What if you moved on net in at nickel, and then you had Isaiah Johnson on the outside opposite Trayvon? I know we brought in a Meek Robertson for that, but that actually could work.
Well, this is
I don't care. Do something.
This is the silver lining of basically playing in garbage time the last 2 games is you can experiment, right? Let's mix shit up, right?
Yeah.
Fuck it. Let's have Arnett play defensive end and have Max Crosby play corner. They can't play worse, right? We're not going to play worse defense. Hell, let's go crazy.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. I'm exaggerating, but you know what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
Mix things up, right? Exactly what you're saying. Let the younger guys get some reps, move guys around, see what works, see what doesn't. I mean, I don't think Marinelli truly thinks he's going to be the defensive coordinator next season. So you might as well just I don't think he's calling plays for a job. So you might as well just try it. Try to find a spark of some kind. Try to find a combination that works. Try anything, because everything else we've tried hasn't done anything.
I think we got to get rid of the DB coach after today. The same way we got rid of Paul Gunther because it was unacceptable, and that was the game that broke the camel's back. I think that was a really bad game for our DB coach. When you look at Trayvon Mullen's lack of technique, just lack of discipline.
Getting worse. He's getting worse week by week.
It is. Eric Harris, absolutely just an empty player out there. He brings nothing forward or defensively in coverage. We had Dalen Livett back there. He's like the third or fourth safety on a roster. I get the whole argument.
Joyner's picking up a check.
Yeah, Joyner's been the biggest disappointment over these last couple of years. And if we did go with Wade Phillips as our next defensive coordinator, I almost wouldn't want him to bring Joyner back, even as a potential free safety. That's one easy thing that Rob Marinelli could be doing for this next couple of games, is making Joyner a fucking safety. Mm-hmm. We've been crying out for that for years. Gruden loves the data, right? But he doesn't love the data enough to know that Joyner played better at free safety than he ever has at nickel.
Mix and match. Get creative. You're playing for nothing other than next season.
So Cleveland Farrell, Max Crosby, and Nassib at defensive end. As you said, I mean, there's Crosby. You're not going to replace Crosby anytime soon. Mm-hmm. You're not going to replace Cleveland Farrell. So what are we going to do at defensive end? Are we going to invest more money in an expensive free agent like Nassib? Or are we going to draft some good young talent, a dynamic pass rusher that isn't necessarily a 4-3, 3-down defensive end? We need a Brian Burns type, man. We need a dynamic pass rusher that can get after the quarterback.
Like a Josh Allen.
Or an Alden Smith.
Oh, no, don't say that.
Like any of the other Raiders defensive players that are playing well these days.
We got them one suspension too early.
I know. I mean, I want to blame the Raiders for losing them, but at the same time, when you're on your 7th drug suspension and you're smoking weed live on Periscope during your 7th drug suspension,
yeah,
even I can say, okay, Raiders, you got to cut the cord at some point. You got,
zero fucks.
Props to Alden Smith for getting his act together and now, back in the league and all that. It's a great story, but I can't say oh man, I can't believe the Raiders got rid of him. I can't believe he lasted as long as he did. All right, boys, that's it for us. Season's not over, but it basically is over. So now we move forward and see what's the injury with Derek Carr. What can we find on defense to make things work? Hell, what happens when our whole offense is healthy for a game? Let's see how they look maybe against the Dolphins or Broncos to close out the season. Either way, that's it for the Autumn Windbags. Knock on wood if you're with me. Thanks for listening to the Autumn Windbags. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment from the audio attack from the Silver and Black.